Hey, it's Alosh Alinov, and today I'd like to just chat with you about consciousness in the way that I understand it. And so I've been learning from quite a few masters, and I'd say, that done pretty well. And I'd love to pour in your ears everything I've learned, but that would be not right if I don't tell you what I do practice. And I don't practice a lot from what I've learned, but what I do practice works for me. Firstly, everybody is different, and you got to find what you are and who you are and what makes you happy. So let's start with routine, for example. I'm like a super routine person. It's got to be in a routine. It's got to be every day, sausage factory, stock standard, 8 a.m. But being now an entrepreneur, I don't have to get up at a certain time, and especially with online business. So I let my body wake up when it wants to wake up without an alarm clock. And I find that's really nice because I don't have that beep, 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 beep that jolts me out of bed. So if you could eliminate that as a starter and wake up naturally, that would be a really good bonus. And how you can do that is obviously go to sleep earlier, so you could wake up without an alarm clock at the time that you want. After 8 hours, you wake up and you're up and you had plenty of sleep. Sometimes I feel like doing yoga, and I know in one of my videos before I posted that yoga every morning. But it's been winter and it's been really cold, and just right now I had a really good dancing session. Goran Brigovic, Ciao Bella, or find some gypsy good songs and whatever makes you happy. But I had a really good dance, and I don't need yoga today. But at the end of the day, obviously, go for a walk with my dogs and so on. So that's a nice routine, I'd say. But routine is slowly starting to fizzle out because I'm starting to realize that every day is different. We're affected by the lunar and solar cycles. There's eclipses coming up. There is astro bodies, Venus, Mars, and they all play influence on us because we are all electromagnetic beings. So the sausage factory, stock standard, it applies to an army at war, and that's not natural. And we are not a bunch of drones. We are co-creators with the creator. We create together. We really are very, very, very special beings. You are very special. So but some things, like the good routine that works for me, is I wake up in the morning and I do this midpoint state. And I don't want to call it meditation because 2-3 weeks ago I fell out of meditation. And I've gone all the way. I've studied I did what's this course called? Transcendental Meditation. Paid 4,500 rand for this guy to spend 3 20-minute sessions with me, and and because I paid so much money, I kind of stuck to it for 7 months. But my mind is so active, and it just keeps on going and going and going. So when I try and sit at the end of the day or whenever, it just doesn't stop. In fact, it increases like tenfold. And I just and it's like, no, watch your thoughts float by, don't engage in them. And I have like 1 billion clouds with 1 billion thoughts in each cloud. So I like watching them. It just drives me absolutely nuts. So that's not working. So what I have started doing, which is very, very important, I want you to listen to this carefully, is that feeling that is a charge when somebody really ticks you off. That feeling, which is, a swirl, it's like an energy churning in your chest. That is the feeling that I use to go into midpoint state. So 3 times a day, it's in the morning, as soon as I get up, lunchtime, and then in the evening, sunset, I do this midpoint state. So I sit down absolutely straight. So plenty of cushions for my back. I've got a slight support for my lower back, just to prop me up, and then I kind of support myself, but I've got that little self-support of the back. And it's very important to get the posture right, because if your spine is aligned, then you really are connected with the divine and the earth. And so it's important to keep yourself upright, so you sit straight. And I light that candle, and I've got a little coal with some resin. I've discovered this new thing as opposed to incense. So the little coal, I put my resin on top, something sweet, and you know, you need to find what works for you. But whatever it is, it's a smell and it's a candle, and I play music, and it's that emotional music from the movies. You know, you got to find what works for you. And I just go and close my eyes, and, you know, obviously by lighting a candle and creating a smell in the music, I tell my mind that I am going into the space. So my mind is, you know, after doing this repetition for 3 weeks, my mind is starting to like, okay, you know, and it's starting to slowly shut off. So what happens is, in that state, you go to the darkest, most hurtful memory that you have ever had. And you bring it up, and that'll most probably bring the churning a bit, because you're so just, you know, pissed off about whether it's a person or somebody really ticked you off, and you hold it and you breathe into it, and then you'll find your mind shuts it off, and give it a color, give it a, what is it? Is it like a golden sphere? And it's right in the chest, it's swirling there. Is it a specific shape? Is it a heart? Give it a visual if you can. And I'm also do struggle with giving it visuals, but there's a glimpse of a little golden purple ball that comes in, or whatever, and then I try and hold it there. And so I sit with this feeling, and my mind shuts off. And in that state, for me, I use my voice. If it's really a big charge, I use my voice to release it. So I sing, hey yeah, yeah, hey yeah, oh yeah. So you sing it out, however, you know, and I just bring a song in, you know, and for you it might be visuals, tears are running down, but that feeling that people are popping antidepressants for, and avoiding that feeling, and no, that's not comfortable. I'm starting to enjoy when that feeling comes, because that is the same feeling that we can use to manifest incredible dreams. And I'll post that for you in future time once I've learned more about it. But, you know, the ancient bards, just to give you an idea, in the ancient bard, in this emotive state, they would sing a song about new creation. And, you know, it doesn't have to rhyme. It could be just any song that comes up, and you sing a song about your life. You know, I manifest abundance in my life. Let us co-create together. So, you know, you bring a song. I mean, I've never sang up until 3 weeks ago. So, you know, really, like, it's new to me. So, but you use that emotive state, and the bards, the ancient bards, used to get into that emotive state, and they would sing a song, and the dreams would come true. Because when you sing a song in that emotive state, and the tears are running down, and you've got this charge, because this charge has got a certain electromagnetic attraction. So if you are singing a song about creation of new reality, the universe, the creator, the earth, the whole resonance is really hearing you, because you are adding emotions, and emotions are energy in motion. So it's very... So don't avoid that feeling. I mean, the other day, I had a meeting with these people that bought my decor business, and I mean, they haven't paid for 2 months, and I'm really like, I'm, you know, like, I'm not going to say the rude word, but I'm in that state, like, oh, you know. And that's another thing you can do. Let it out. If you've got this anger, and you're like, oh, you know, freaking angry, you go outside, and you go, ah, you know, you give it a voice. Your will. This is the thing that we're trying to bring out, is your will. Because the problem right now is that the mind is running 100% of the show. And we have 3 components to our being. We have the mind, which is supposed to be the intelligence of the will. And then we have our physical, sexual body. And everybody's running with the mind and the physical. And nobody's bringing in the will. And the will is so important, and the will wants to hear your anger. Don't suppress it, because if you suppress your anger, sooner or later you will get sick, because that energy builds up and it's unresolved. You know, and a lot of people do the sport, and I know that helps. But your will wants to hear your voice. No amount of exercise is going to release that charge that has built up again in your chest. So feel it, feel that anger, feel that frustration or feel that pain. I mean, we had a robbery in Neisner where we moved over to the land of dreams to start this eco lifestyle, and I was building us a home, and my wife and my son get a knife and a hammer to their head 100 meters from where I am. You know, that's freaking painful. So I go to that memory now, and it's all perfect and beautiful. I don't want you to think, oh, shame. No, it's not shame. If I didn't come back that time, I would have had my business bankrupted because my guy who I left it with was busy stealing my clients and doing jobs on the side. So I had to come back. It was universe's way to say, hey, get your ass back in Johannesburg. And that's what I needed to do. And I wasn't listening. And I still didn't listen. After the robbery, I tried to carry on building my house, and then my plaster fell out, and then I maxed the overdraft, and I had no choice. But with the last 1,000 rand or $100, bought myself a one-way ticket back to Johannesburg from Neisner. So universe will get us to the point where we have no choice but to get us to our path of infinity of divinity. And you know, you either work with it or you flow upstream. And if you flow upstream, you keep on getting clapped. You keep on getting clapped to realize that what your path is. And strangely, since I've been following my vision, everybody's getting robbed, and I'm not getting robbed. I'm not getting robbed. I'm not as, I'm just, you know, everything is fine. I feel so safe. Deep inside, I feel safe. So where were we? Okay, so bards, use this song, use this compressive state to sing a song about creation. You could go, and in that compressive state, once you felt it, and if a song is not for you, visualize the will, give it a color, see your spine, see that shaft, see that electrical charge coming from your anus up to your head, and condense it in your will, and then, you know, just be with it. It's the first step. If you can just recognize that your will has a certain feeling, has a certain electrical charge, has got a certain amount of power, and when you finish with that and you've got your music playing, you know, switch off the music, blow out the candle, take out the smell, go into a completely different space, completely different. Could be, so I do the first part in my bedroom, just against, you know, I sit there. Go to a completely different space. It could be a garden, or it could be a different space, uncluttered, mustn't have any clutter, and you just be with it, and you just sit. For me, I take a bath. I go to a bath, and usually I put earphones. Now I don't even put earphones because I'm listening for the epiphany. I'm listening for that ultimate creativity to download, to come from Creator, from the source, from the galaxy, universe, the stars, the planet. And I'm waiting for that epiphany. And true as Bob, I'll get one or two epiphanies, or at least one epiphany, like a thought will come on how I can make myself, you know, make more money, or come out of overdraft, or how can I proceed with building, you know, a certain part of my construction, my eco-construction at my house. So, or an epiphany of a new business venture will come. Because in that state, you really tap into the higher source of infinity of divinity, or whatever you want to call it. So be aware of that feeling, go to the second space and just sit with it. So that's what we call a midpoint state. It's not meditation. As I said, the difference with meditation is you're trying to watch your thoughts float by like clouds, and it hasn't been working for me, and I really tried for 7 months, twice a day. So now the will is so powerful, that feeling is so powerful that your mind shuts off, because it's the bigger brother. It's like, okay, when you've got the tears running, and when you're feeling that pain, but you're in a safe space, and you're processing that pain. And you know, John Demartini. So I'm going to finish that, because that's what I want you to try. But obviously there are other processes that you can do, and the one guaranteed process is the breakthrough experience for John Demartini. I'm not trying to market him in any way, but it really helped me. When we had that robbery in Neisner, both of us, Helen and I, we went to a breakthrough experience, and we collapsed the tsotsis, that the robbers that came and attacked us, because we had a charge on them, and because we had a charge on them, we weren't releasing it. You know, we're getting sick, and nothing was flowing, abundance wasn't flowing. So we needed to close the door, and we realized that they were perfect. So John Demartini's breakthrough experience is incredible. In fact, everything that John Demartini has to offer is fantastic. It's very much mind-based. So he figured out the mind really well. And if you want to operate in the society and go full power and achieve your vision and be a success, I'd strongly recommend John Demartini. And the one thing that really works from him, and again, I'm not punting the guy, but he's got this value determination form. Okay, so 13 questions on his website, Dr. Demartini, drdemartini.com. 13 questions. How do you spend? What are the 3 ways you spend your time in? What are the 3 types of books you read? What are the 3 types of conversations that you always go to in your social settings? What are the 3 types of goals that you set that are starting to manifest in your life? So it's 13 of these real McCoy questions. What you occupy your space with, etc. So you get your values and 3, 4, 5 values. And like he says, if you want to be financially wealthy, if you're not reading financial books, if you're not checking financial things on the internet, if you're not thinking about it, if you're not talking about it, obviously financial wealth is not on your list. And he's got a really good exercise how you can bump things up on your list. So let's say financial wealth is not on your list at all, and you're like, I really want to make some cash, So the reason that it's not on your list is because you're not seeing the link between 3 or 4 of your highest values to making wealth. So the exercise that he gives, which is quite good, is so you identify your 3 highest values. And by the way, key point to remember here is your biggest void is your highest value. So what you perceive you're missing the most is your highest value at the moment. So if you're missing relationship, you are in search for a relationship. If you feel like you're broke and you need money, then wealth building will be your number 1. So your highest void is your highest value. So that's a fact that's just proven. So it's like one of those things. So the question here, once you've identified 3 or 4 or 5 of your highest values, and you want to bring in financial wealth on it, so you start asking a question, well, how is being financially wealthy going to help my family, if family is on your highest list? And you answer that 50 times. So how is reading financial books and being more financially savvy and is going to help my family, my highest value of family? So you answer that 50 times, and then you do that for the second value, for the third value, for the fourth, and for the 5th highest value, until you're like, yes, let me go get those financial books. Let me start reading it. Let me put some action, because you neurologically rewired your brain to see the link between financial wealth and, for me, it would be inventiveness. If I bring financial wealth as my highest or higher up on my values, I'll be able to invent better. If I'm able to save, which is part of financial wealth. If you're not saving, we'll just chat about just now, it's like, forget it, So, by me saving and having that reserve backup, I'm able to get out of the mortal thing of, I've got no money for food. Because when you get in that state of like survival, Maslow's hierarchy of needs kicks in. And that hierarchy of needs says survival first. So the visionary goes out of the window, the inventiveness goes out of the window, your path in life, your determination, how you've been following, goes out of the window, because now you got to get money so you can pay your rent and your food. So there's no inventiveness, no joy comes out when you got that survival mode kicking in. So to avoid the survival mode, you got to save. So, and to save, you got to see the links between how saving is going to help everything in your life. And you ask, and saving is obviously part of financial wealth. So and you carry on going and you carry on linking. So how is being more financially savvy or saving 10% of every cent that comes in, how's that going to help my highest value number 2? And you answer that 50 to 100 times. So it's like a 5, 6, 7 hour exercise. You'll sit there and pull your hair and like, and you're not getting, do a few push-ups, do a little dance, go for a walk, come back, carry on, hit it, don't stop, because your mind is in that process state until you really at the end of it like, I know that building financial wealth is going to help my family, going to help my work, going to help my inventiveness, and going to help my teaching career. So really really that stuff works. And John DeMartini's got fantastic other exercises on how to get rid of shame and guilt by seeing the benefit in every situation. So the bottom line is that every situation is perfectly balanced. It's we perceive it that it's unbalanced. So as somebody is stealing from you at that very moment, quantum physically, it could be on another part of the world, somebody is sending you energy, and it could be, you know, energy of love. It could be your kid sending you a blessing while somebody is physically robbing you. So the two equations of positive and negative are fully balanced. All right, so that takes me to the positive and negative polarity. So this is another thing, and that goes back to the will. We are so addicted to, you know, oh, I must stay positive, affirming positive things. And whilst that's, there is truth in affirmations and, you know, saying what you want and, you know, with intention to bring it into your life, but being addicted to a positive feeling, you know, that the things must be always peachy and hunky-dory and war not, you know, peace not war. You know, love, I wouldn't use that word, but you know what I'm saying. People are just addicted to this intense, positive, one-sided coin, and it doesn't work like that in life. The night goes dark. I mean, the sun turns over, things go dark, the winter comes in, the decay is part of it. So how do we accelerate? How do we thrive on negative polarity of the things that are really hurtful, uncomfortable, and, you know, but look at the compost pile. In the entropy of all the veggies and manure and everything going off and decomposing and in tropic condition, birth of new soil and microorganisms by the trillions occurs every second. So, you know, that's how nature does it, using entropy and decay to fire up something incredible. And it brings me back to my will. So next time you have this, I need to go back to the story. I was sitting in the car. I'm about to have a meeting with the people who bought my business, who haven't paid me for 2 months. And, you know, I obviously have another plan B, because that's, you know, to get my water business going, I needed the funds, and the funds were coming from the sale of my business. So I traded one for another. I didn't trade it for not having paid for the business, you know. So the bottom line is that I've got this churning happening in my chest. So I arrive 20 minutes early to the meeting so I can sit in my car, and I have the most deepest meditation or midpoint state. So I prop my seat right up so I'm not slanting back. Very important to keep posture. So I'm sitting there. Oh, another thing is don't cross your legs, don't cross your arms, don't do this, none of that Buddhist stuff. You must let the energy flow. So you can't see the camera now, but make sure your arms are down and they're like either in this position or they're in this position, and make sure they're down so the joints are not facing up, so the blood is not constraining. And then your legs are also like this, your 2 feet touching each other, and your knees are relaxed. No crossing. It's very important, because you want the current to start to flow. When you start feeling that energy coming up your anus, or, you know, relax it, because your mind will try and, you know, your mind will try and do the opposite of what you do. So I'll chat about it just now, but so your arms like this down, and your legs also touching each other, opened up, relaxed down. So that's in midpoint state. We don't cross anything. So in the car, obviously I'm sitting in my front seat and got my arms down, and I'm using that charge. And as that charge comes up, usually I'm like, oh, you know, like, oh, I don't want to feel that. And this is just anger, and oh, that's not nice. And you know, you start putting judgments, and the more judgments you put, the more horrible the feeling becomes, because you're resisting it. Now I'm like, I get a little smile, because now I'm working with the will, and I sit with it. And for the whole 20-30 minutes before the meeting, I sat in the state, and I used this feeling to drive my will, to awaken my will, because I know it's my will trying to explore itself and express itself. So I sat with it, and then I started to visualize that the meeting is going to go well. You know, so using that energy, because you can't just visualize without energy. You need to add emotion, which is energy in motion. You got to add that, and feel it and then use it, whether it's for a song that creates your new reality, or whether it's for a visual that creates your reality, or whether you want to start writing in a journal. Get a journal. Make sure it has open lines or no lines, but no squares. Because when you've got squares, I stopped writing. So nice, sexy journal, beautiful cover that you resonate with, and then either lines or no lines, but make sure that you've got a nice, beautiful journal. Because as soon as it's a beautiful journal, you write in it. If it's an ugly thing with squares, it's like an energetical block, and that's what we're experiencing in the cities. But I'm not going to go on a tangent here. So I'm sitting, and I sat for 20, 30 minutes, and I went into a midpoint state. So that's how I use the negative feeling, that negative energy that is uncomfortable, that people usually pop pills for to avoid and suppress. I use that feeling to visualize a positive outcome for a meeting that is due in a few minutes. And, true as Bob, I had a fantastic meeting. We put a resolution, we put some plans in action, and I feel comfortable that this is going to happen. This will happen. But what brought me to this meeting is these people have been ignoring my calls for 3 months. So they got my business, they got my vehicle, they got my stock, they got my staff, and they are completely ignoring me, and they're not answering my calls, and they're sending me promises that never materialize. And eventually, and that brings me to another point, and I was driving on a Friday in the car to Mpumalanga to ancient ruins to meet Michael Tellinger, and then I was driving and I'm listening to Demartini's CD, and he says, well, in one of the exercises, write down all the things you don't enjoy doing in your life, but you kind of have to do it. And he said, he obviously links it. You're supposed to link it to your highest values. So even what you don't enjoy doing, and then you'll start enjoying doing it temporarily until you can delegate it. But at least you'll resonate with it. It's not in the way; it's on the way. So I'm doing this exercise, and I'm like, these fuckers, sorry to use the word, haven't paid me for 3 months, and I'm here stressed. My house is going on auction in 21 days if I don't pay up the backlog. And I'm in this stress state, and I'm trying to say, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. No, surrender. No, stuff that. Surrender to what? What must I surrender? There's people stuffing me over? No, thank you. So I pick up the phone. I phone the number. Secretary answers this guy's cell phone, and I just lash out on her. And I know you might say, but it's not nice, and shame, and what. No, I lashed out. I didn't lash out at her. I lashed out at the situation. I told her the situation. I told her my anger, frustration. I didn't scream like mad, but I was like, hey, this is not cool. You guys got my car, got my vehicle, got this, and you're not paying up. This is bullshit. So I really spoke my truth let my will, immediately I felt better because I released what what I was holding in myself, because the new ages and this whole thing is stating, no, be nice and be happy and positive thoughts. I've tried that. It's not helping me to get my money out of them. And my house is about to go on an auction. You know what I mean? It's enough of niceties, okay? At some point you're like, enough is enough, and you speak up your truth. So I spoke up my truth, Bob. 5 minutes later, I phone again to the guy's wife. She answers the phone for the first time in 3 months. So that just shows you how expressing your will, expressing your truth, and like seeing it for what it is, not the end of the world, it's not the end of your life. It's just like you're fucking pissed off, and this is enough. This is enough. So you let it out. 3 minutes later, she answers the phone after 3 months. And guess what? I scheduled that meeting that happened this week, Monday. And that's when I did that emotive state, because now I'm churning inside. I've got this 3 months of frustration and But then if I didn't do that, I go into the meeting, I say something stupid, I stuff it up, they chuck me out of the office in anger, and what have I achieved? So I sat with it. I've already expressed my anger on Friday when I was driving and I spoke. Now I'm sitting for 30 minutes, churning my will, but seeing it for what it is. And as that churning comes up, I get a little smile. I actually get a little smile in the midst of that uncomfortable feeling of, I get a little smile because I know it's my will trying to talk, which has been suppressed for 35 years. I haven't listened to my will for 35 years because my mind has been taking all of us for a total spin. A total spin. The mind is in full charge right now of everybody. And that's a problem because we have three parts of ourselves. So the mind has a place as intelligence of the will. So I went, really did the midpoint state for 30 minutes before our meeting, visualized the great outcome, and I got a right outcome exactly as I visualized, but because I added emotion, energy in motion into my visualization or into my song. I even sang there in the car, I used their names and they pay me back, and I sang a really nice song in that emotive, compressive state. So the reason I'm going on about it is because this is new to me, and this is a game changer, because up until now I was avoiding that angry feeling to the point where, I start hurting myself and I start thinking of, leaving this planet and all these stupid thoughts that are not me. But if you suppress and suppress and suppress and suppress and surrender, you will eventually kill yourself. And I'm sorry to say that. So there's, of course, times comes to surrender. You put some things in motion and then you surrender, once you've done everything, eventually, you can't watch the paint dry. When I did my water campaign, eventually, let it roll and the sales came in. Don't tinker with it, but, do your best and then you could surrender. But you're surrendering with a specific outcome. You've done the work, you provided the value, you provided the service, and then you're I've done my best. Then you could surrender. But waiting for somebody to stop pissing you off, it's not going to stop, but you just I surrender. You know what I mean? You got to express your feeling. And if you're angry, go outside and, let it out. Let your voice out. Don't be shy. You're not mad. You're a human being. You're Godical. You're God particle. You're particle of God. You're Godical. So let that energy flow. Your will wants to hear you. Sing a song. Let it out. Scream it out. Shout it out. Don't freak people, but shout it out. It's important. Release that energy. Release that energy. Your will wants to hear you. And I'll be posting more about the will in the time to come as I learn more about it. But this is a game changer because we can use the very thing that we hate the most, that uncomfortable charge, to manifest dreams to come true. And come true they will a lot faster because of your will and energy in motion. So that's about that. That's about for that. The other thing is part of my routine is diet. So bring in a good juice for yourself. Bring in a good juice. Make sure it's alkaline juice. So it's really easy to grow wheatgrass. I've got it on my YouTube channel. Please see how I grow sprouts and wheatgrass. It's super easy. Greens, if I show you my greens, they're pumping, and I had a broken leg for 3 months. You saw in my water webinar and so on. I had a broken leg, so I could barely freaking walk. Okay, I couldn't walk. I was on crutches, and I stuck some seeds down, and I just put a few seeds down and make sure your irrigation is sorted and stuff. That's where the grey water thing works well, because I just had to bath once a day, and then the veggies irrigated, because the one thing they do need is some water. But stuff is easy to grow, and I'll turn the camera so you can see the stuff is booming, and it's middle of winter, and I really didn't put much time. I'd say I'm quite lazy when it comes to the garden, so but whatever I do plant grows, because we work the soil, we added compost, we use the mulch and so on. So have a green juice. So that every morning what I do is, and also I shouldn't lie, it doesn't happen every morning, but I try and have it as a daily routine. I go outside, I've got my vision. Here it is. It's about 200th version, but not that it's jumping all over, but the vision is something we'll be chatting on right now, but the vision is very, very important. So I go outside and I read my vision too, and I have a green juice with it. So just associate a healthy intake and my vision, and they flow together, and that's kind of like my morning routine. After or before I have a dance, nothing is in a routine anymore. In fact, I'd like to read you my vision, just to show you that if you have a good vision, not a good vision, if you have a vision that is what you came to earth for to do, then you'll have a tremendous support from all over the place to manifest this vision into reality. So as they say, if you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there. So this is your plan. This is your plan for life, and you keep on rewriting it. And I'll tell you how you started, but let me read you my vision. I'm a visionary edutainer and a master builder of self-regenerative biogeometric living habitats based on biomimicry principles, cosmic geometries, geomancy, which is dowsing of underground ley lines, and permaculture ecosystemic design. I express my creativity and talent to guide humanity to co-create intelligent new reality research villages and cities that welcome natural laws and elemental kingdom whilst utilizing natural phenomena and waste. All of our bioshelter organisms are surrounded by food forest parks producing living air, spring water, and a diverse variety of nutritionally dense foods, whilst transforming electromagnetic radiation into healing vibrations. The social structures and lifestyle in our settlements are designed to support all those living within to joyfully thrive with health and abundance whilst serving each other. And lastly, our cities and villages assist Grand Organized Designer, GOD, to playfully interact with all the participants, so to awaken the visionaries within all beings. So in a nutshell, I want to create villages that are got high density for people that don't want to stay on the land with a meter of clay underneath their feet, because that's the truth. And then these high density populations are surrounded by lower density people who do want to stay on land and get their fingers dirty and grow food, and the excess food they grow support the high density population. Obviously there's no square buildings, everything is designed to sacred geometry, everything is designed to natural geometries of the earth, the contour lines, the putting of the stones at the right places to ground the cosmic energy. So basically when you walk into my city and village, which whenever it will be built one day, it will start with property development, so if you're interested, let's do it. But when you walk into our property development or village or city, you will feel that, it feels so good. I don't know if you ever felt it. Maybe when you walk to a forest, you're like, I feel so healed and supported. Because there's no electromagnetic radiation, there's no square lines, there's no hum of cars, there's no pollution of cars. It's just a whole new reality, cities and villages. And that's what I've been drafting in my vision. No, I haven't started building a city yet, but I'm started with my home, and my home is 90% complete with the ecosystems, and the food forest is going up, so things are on the way. Although they're not done, but they're they're on the way. And that's where my values are. My 3-4 highest values are, well, wealth building is number one, because it's my highest void right now, so wealth building is number one. My second highest value is inventiveness and drawing, so that's quite important to me. Then I love teaching, okay, and so I'm here teaching you, and I love teaching. My whole course is on teaching. It's my third highest value. I love teaching, and then on the fourth value would be dance and yoga, and things like that. But the three highest values, that's them, So because that's what occupies my space, that's what I read about, that's what I dream about, that's what I talk about. Vision. So everybody has to have a vision. Everybody does have a vision, they just haven't realized it yet. So the first step is to figure out your values. It'll take you 15 minutes on Dr. Demartini's website, and it'll take you 15 minutes, and it's the best 15 minutes of your life, quality-wise. Okay? Know thyself, Socrates said. And then, in that deep, compressive state, when you're emotional and you're feeling the emotions and you're crying, you ask a question. What is my purpose? What did I come here for? And you keep on asking different questions that try and get the same answer. Have a journal nearby, and a word might pop up, or a visual might pop up, or a song might pop up. Whatever your senses that you're working with the most will guide you to what your vision is. And that word pops up, write it down. And that might be a little line or a little paragraph that comes out. And keep on structuring that. keep on structuring that. When I did a Mankind project, which we as men, we connect together and we support each other to be more in integrity and accountability with our actions. In that powerful weekend that they do, the first weekend to kickstart the whole process, I had a vision of these fruiting gardens or fruit forests and children picking fruit. I saw it because they get you in this, they get you into this deep into the process. So like, even if you're not visual, you suddenly see this thing. And I saw this fruiting gardens of heaven on earth in terms of food forest, fruits everywhere, and like these amazing gardens, and the whole earth was covered in them. I saw that. And since that day, I set myself on a path to change the face of the earth by teaching 1 billion people on how to create heaven on earth in their homes, in their immediate environments. So, and that was seven years ago, that the whole process started. So in that state, in that emotional state, you could maybe have a little dance, or get your mind switched off, have a good dance, sit down, bring up emotion, bring up the most painful memory you can, start crying and feel it, know that it's the will, it's not the end of the world, it's not happening to you again, but bring it up so you can process it slowly but surely. And then in that compressive emotive state, you ask a question. Why was I born? What's my purpose? And as I said, things come up, write it down, put it in your diary, put it in your journal, and true as Bob, that paragraph will start building into 2 paragraphs, and you rewrite it and keep on working it every day. Make sure that one routine you add to your life is that find time, cut down on TV or YouTube watching, go into your sacred space where you maybe do your midpoint state and work on your vision. Rewrite that paragraph, tweak a word, change a word. Maybe there's a different word that speaks more to what you are really feeling, of what your purpose is on earth. And keep on rolling it out until you have a pretty refined, this is 200 times rewritten, I didn't get there 7 years ago when I had a vision of fruiting gardens. But now I've got a very tight version that I feel like I can start communicating that to people, and obviously a summary of version of that. But my vision is pretty wild. I'm talking about elemental beings. I'm talking about the gnomes and the fairies, or whatever you want to call them, that will occupy our cities and villages energetically, because we'll ground the energy in the right places and so on. Whether you believe it or not, they do exist, and I haven't seen them, but a lot of people have. And just because I haven't seen something doesn't mean that, you haven't seen something. So you just need to open the spectrum of your, eyesight, which, there's different exercises for that. But the bottom line is that my vision is pretty wild. I'm talking about cities and villages that have elemental kingdom and made of waste and using geometry and having people joyfully thriving whilst having the electromagnetic radiation change over to healing vibrations, which, by the way, I have studied how to do that with biogeometry. I was Ibrahim Karim. I went to Belgium end of last year to study that. So all these, my vision is on the way, but I have to have a vision for it to be on the way. Otherwise, if you do not have a vision, you end up following somebody else's vision. That's the fact of life. So you either have a vision or you follow somebody else's vision, and then you die. And then you die at the end of your life and you're like, well, could I have done better with my life? Well, hell yeah, you've just followed another dude or 20, 30, 40 dudes. That's why it's important to know your values, because whilst you might be admiring Richard Branson like I do, he's got a different set of values to me. He might not be dreaming about bringing Elemental Kingdom to his Virgin Active gyms. You know what I mean? That's his pluck. So I can't say what I'm doing is wrong because I should be or I could be like Richard Branson. No, you are an individual godical, God particle, and you have your own version. You have a unique set of values, like Demartini says, fingerprint specific, eyesight, I retina specific. You have a specific, unique set of values that are truly you. So you need to know your values and you need to download your vision in the process that I spoke of. And there's other vision quests you could go on and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, Just ask a question. It's not that difficult. Your soul, your mind, your body's got very high intelligence. If you keep on asking the questions and don't stop, every day you keep on asking the question, what is my purpose? How can I be of service? And knowing what you love doing, which is your values, combining with the vision that you're starting to sculpt, then you are like really at the forefront of the thing. You might still not see anything, but if you start taking small action steps towards this vision, my vision started with me taking a trip to somebody and learning something here just down the road. There was a workshop, was international. Guy came on food growing, John Jevons, and Grow by Intensive, and I went. It was 150 kilometers away. It was, not expensive at all, and I don't like using that word, but it was good quality and it was well priced, I went there, and that, my vision started with attending a talk, attending a workshop locally, and then it grew. And as I have a vision, the divine supports me. People to come together to supporting me. My vision, I fired up. With my vision, I managed to fire up Michael Tellinger. He is like, we are joining forces together, and we're going to co-create this new reality, full power. 1 + 1 = 1,000,000, So once you have a vision, you have a purpose. Your vision is your purpose. And once you have a purpose, then you're like, well, you know what? I'm doing this job right now, and understand that that's where it is. You can't, and that's what I was doing over time. Had the day, or just completely hated doing quotes, did the whole exercise of DeMartini's, how to start loving quotes by linking into my inventiveness and my teaching. So I've surrendered to doing quotes. That's what I've got. And, but slowly I was like driving 3D Deco until to the point where now my Abundance of Water course just had $8,300 in sales in the first month. It's a brand new product. It's online product. I've created everything already. Besides, this is the bonus that I'm recording, but everything is done. $8,300 in sales. That's good money, and that's how vision. After 9 years, so don't give up on your vision. After 9 years of trying this, trying that, no, it didn't work. Because it's your vision and because you're working with your highest values, when you fall and you get clapped, you stand up, you carry on. If it's in your lowest values, somebody pisses you off, you walk out. But if it's your highest values, you carry on. You got the stamina because it's your highest values. It's what you believe in. It's what you dream of. It's what you talk about. It's what you read about. It's you. It's you. Your highest values is you. So you will continue to endure pain and pleasure if you carry on doing what's in your highest values. And if you link your highest values with your vision, and even if you're in another job that just like driving you mad, link that job. How's doing that job going to help your highest values? Do the links, because then temporarily, not forever, but temporarily, you will actually learn to love your job because you see how it's helping you to bring your vision on the way. So link that exercise by asking, how's doing that particular job description is helping my highest value number 1? And you link it 50 to 100 times. Highest value number 2, job description, and then you rewire your brain, like I said earlier. And trust me, it's much better to go through life loving what you do or surrendering to what you do with a purpose of achieving your vision and moving towards your value. You already have your values. You're not moving towards them. You're moving towards the vision. The values is what you have. It's not what you should be doing or could be doing or ought to be doing. Is what are you doing right now? And that's why DeMartini's form is very specific. What are the 3 types of books do you read right now? What are the 3 types of conversations that you always end up in a social setting right now? Not what you'd like to talk about. So it's very much values is right now and vision is where you're on the way, So, and that's when you reach a good state of flow. When you have a vision for the future and you're happy in the now. But you remember, happy in the now, we don't want to be happy, clappy, positive polarity without the negative polarity. It's embracing the negative polarity. It's embracing that charge and the people that really drive you mad and the situations that really drive you mad. It's letting the energy brew in the will It's letting it come out through your voice or your visualizations, and voice important. Oh, let it out outside somewhere. Because by releasing it, then you get to that more happy in the now. Because if you're happy in the now and you have a vision for the future, then you're in the flow. And when you're in the flow, magic happens, where the robots will just go green when you're driving, or you walk into the bank and somebody just helps you right there without a queue, or amazing magic, like you ask for something and literally that day money will appear in your account. Weird stuff happens when you're in the flow. But being in the flow is vision for the future, happy in the now. And happy in the now is embracing the will, and embracing the dark situations, embracing the darkness, the pain, as it's the truth. It doesn't lie. That's what happened. I did have a robbery. My ex-wife and son had been attacked on the land, and I can beat around the bush and say this and that, but the reality of the situation that it did happen. And I used that pain, because it drove us out of the land. I used that pain to manifest new reality. And on this note, I will surrender. I will add some more conscious wisdom when I get the inspiration to do so. And until then, namaste. Veggies, as promised. My broad beans coming. Oh, look at that! I have broad beans. I mean, I swear this wasn't here unless I was blind, but this is brand new. I mean, look at that. My mustard I'm picking every day for my juice. I don't use the leaves. I scrape the stalk off. The stalks are nice and the leaves are very mustardy. And there it is. There's some stuff growing. My food grower is growing. I've got some stuff. I've got another box here. And I haven't been really active in the garden. Hey, just wanted to share something with you that came up still the same day. Firstly, I want you to be successful, and to be successful you need to prioritize things. So how I do things is, before I even open my emails or Twitter, or, well, I don't go on Twitter or Facebook if I ever, but any of those other things where people need things from you. Of course, if you're running a business or you need to quickly check emails that are very important, and you look for those specific important emails and you close. You close immediately your mailbox, because before you know it, you'll end up doing hours just answering this and that and that, and the things that you wrote down that you needed to do to drive your vision forward and your business forward haven't been done. So, I've got a lovely movie on my YouTube channel where I do that quadrant of urgent and not important, and urgent, important, that quadrant. So look out for that movie. It's in my YouTube channel. I'm going to try and put a link here. But what I want you to, just a quick recap of that. So before I looked at the email. There's one or two urgent things. Like if somebody needs a quote or an invoice, that's urgent, because that's potential money coming in, obviously. And then you close it. Close the whole thing. You don't go on Facebook. Your WhatsApp doesn't have that automatic beeping things that come to your knowledge all the time. So my WhatsApp is off, my phone is off, it's on airplane mode. Obviously, if you can afford that in terms of, depends what industry you're in and so on. But the time that I am focused on the crucial tasks that I wrote out, like not urgent and important, is the first things that I focus on. Then urgent and important is the second thing I focus on. And then number 2 and number 3 quadrant, which is, I think number 3 is when other people need stuff from you. And number 4, it's like pile up zone. It's like just extras, so that just gets, you got to do those low priority things last. It's so important, because like I woke up this morning and I could have gone into my email and I could have done this and but as soon as I got down, I looked at my diary and I said, okay, I got to record this consciousness video. It's a bonus. I've promised it to you guys and I have to do it. So before I got into anything else, I went downstairs and shot the first hour. And now I went for a quick haircut, and I am recording the second bit because something came up there, and I'm like, hey, I got to share it with you. So the first thing is to drive your vision forward, have a plan of action, prioritize it in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure it's a clean list, because you might have a scribbly list of everything you're adding on. Make sure you write yourself a nice list for the next day, and you write it the night before or the day before. And then you look at that list, and you know that's your priorities. And how do you prioritize things? And is obviously you'll know if it's bringing in money, or if it's linked with your highest values, and it's going to make highest impact, highest income. Just remember that. Highest impact, highest income. If your tasks are prioritized according to highest impact and highest income, then you're game, you know. And make sure, as I said, don't open your email. Make sure your WhatsApp is not beeping you. Make sure your phone is not beeping you, because these are all distractions. Before you know it, somebody sends you something, you start sending it to many people because it was such a lovely little thing. And 30 minutes are gone, 20 minutes are gone. And next thing, end of the day comes, and you're like, oh, shucks, you know, I haven't gone to my highest priorities. And I want you to finish your highest priorities, because that's the only way you will drive your business or your new venture or your vision forward, is if you hit highest impact, highest income priorities first, before you do everything else, before you attend to what people need from you. You know, things can wait. Otherwise, your vision never gets off the ground. It becomes a dream, and you keep on dreaming. And when you're 70 years old, you peg, and it's like, well, I haven't done my vision. Now I'll go to heaven if you believe in only one life, or, you know, come back next life and try again, you know. Hit your vision in this lifetime, or, you know, that's the game. And what I wanted to bring you from the barber that I've been to, so, you know, are you enjoying yourself? I'll ask him a question. Yeah, life is not bad. You know, just the wording already, life is not bad. The brain doesn't know the difference between bad and not bad. So if you say life is not bad, brain hears life bad, bad life. And that's what it's like. Just that's what you're putting out into the ether, day in and day out. And then I ask him a question, so what do you want to do? And the guy says, well, I'd love to do something else, like farming or mechanic or you know, turkey rearing. I'm like, okay, but farming or food, turkey rearing, I mean, and mechanic are like three things. Can you see how the guy doesn't have any congruency as to what he wants to do? And that's why he's stuck at the hairdresser cutting hair for gents. I said, well, do you want to get out and do something? Yeah, sure I do. So what do you love doing? And I'm trying to get him onto Demartini's website so he can determine his values. He says, well, I love soccer and boxing. Okay, so he loves soccer and boxing. That's what he watches all the time. And he plays soccer. He wouldn't mind to be mechanic or a farmer. And can you see how he's not really getting anywhere? Where in my case, 7 years ago, I clearly stated, I want to create heaven on earth. I saw those food forests, and I said, like, let's do it. You know, I believe I can do it. I know I can do it. And it's like nothing can stop me in achieving that goal. Nothing. Only death shall stop me from achieving that goal. But otherwise, you know, I get pushed down, I get up, and I carry on. So you got to have a very clear vision. And I spoke about it earlier. And you got to be related to your values, which is what you love doing. You know, and I'm not saying I'm doing everything now that I love doing. You know, like I have to do admin things, but, you know, if I don't do admin things, the invoices don't come. And as soon as I can have enough money to employ a person to delegate, that's the first thing that will go, because you gotta do what you love and delegate the rest to people who love what you have delegated to them. That's a true master. Do what you love in highest priorities of highest income impact, but not always. You could just, like, if you do if drawing is your thing, then drawing is your thing. You know, you can make money of drawing. Don't let any people tell you that you cannot. You know, if you drill that long enough and you try this and you go to different galleries, you can achieve anything. You can just keep on trying. And, you know, and stay different, you know, wait for those epiphanies like I spoke of, like going into a bath or second space after your midpoint state. You know, then in that epiphany, you might get like $1 million idea that is so lucrative, you're like, yes, this is it. This is what I've been thinking about. So I just wanted to share that piece with you. What's your thoughts? And I'm not saying that your thoughts are the only ones with your words that make up your reality, but if you are constantly life is sucks, business is quiet, and life is okay, or it's not bad, I'm not saying lie to yourself, but at the same time I am saying to you, lie to yourself. Fake it until you make it. In my vision it says I'm an international edutainer. Am I teaching worldwide right now? Well, I guess this is worldwide, so I could say yes, it's going worldwide. But in terms of me traveling the world and teaching right now, I'm not doing it. Just between me and you right now at this point. But I am saying it. I'm an international edutainer, educational, entertaining type of character. So, and that's what I'm putting out into the field. So when somebody meets me, like, what do you do? Oh, well, I travel, I'm an international edutainer, and I teach people about how to create heaven on earth in terms of food, shelter, water. I'm like, okay, great, and I promise you within next 2 years, okay, I'm going to be traveling the world and doing international speaking gigs. Because that's what happened with DeMartini. DeMartini came to another wise man called Wayne Dyer, which passed away quite recently, but, amazing guy. Just check out some of his talks. Wayne Dyer, fantastic. I think he had like 11 children or something, but really cool guy. Anyway, so he comes to Wayne DeMartini, young John DeMartini comes to Wayne Dyer and says, Wayne, what can you give me one advice of what I can do to become an international successful speaker? So Wayne Dyer says, well, say to yourself and others that you're an international successful speaker. He says, but I'm not. And Wayne Dyer says, well, you can give me all the buts, but at the end of the day, if you follow my advice and do as I say, you will get it. You'll do it. He says, but I'm not. It would be a lying. I'm not an international speaker. It would be lying. And Wayne Dyer said these wise words. John, a layman has to see it to believe it. A standard man on the street, okay, or man or woman on the street, has to see it to believe it. A prophet believes it before he sees it. So you are not a liar, John DeMartini. You are a prophet. So what I'm telling you is, in your vision, it might sound crazy, like, my vision is to teach 1 billion people how to create heaven on earth. Because if I don't, I feel like I failed and this world is going to, pack up. Not that I'm carrying the world on my shoulders, thanks God that that's long gone. But at the same time, like, I'm determined. I will. And the first way to get anything done is to know that you can do it. So say it to yourself like you know it. Believe it. Even go beyond believing, because believe is actually desire from Latin. But what you want to do is you want to say it with knowing. I can see those fruit trees. I can see those kids picking those apples and cherries and guavas on the way to school. I can see lawns being replaced by pennyroyals and other medicinal herbs. I can see it so clearly. And that's what I want you to do. Practice your visualization in that emotive state and watch your words. Like, really, like, how's life? You know what? Things are fantastic. I'm alive, I'm alive. I've got food to eat. I've got a shelter over my head. And you know what? And I've got some opportunities coming. Rather say that than, life sucks, business is quiet. Because God will give you 1 million reasons to show you how life does suck and how your business will be quiet. Now, whilst I'm not saying this is the only way to manifest, there's many, many things, but this is an integral component, that your most dominant thought and speech becomes your most prominent, outermost prominent reality. Your innermost dominant thought becomes your outer most prominent reality. I hope you get that. That's words from John DeMartini, and I'm sorry to quote him so much, but the guy rocks. He read 45,000 books, and he's got a thin synthesis of the story. Whatever bits and bobs of story we're working with, he's got the entire story. Not the entire, but he's got more of a story than anyone else on the planet right now. So let's learn from the masters. We're all standing on the shoulders of the giants. So let's stand on the shoulders of the giants, learn from the masters. And I didn't come up with this stuff, but at the same time, the stuff that I'm applying really works for me. So be realistic and be optimistic, if I could leave you with that. So you're realistic in terms of, like, this is the situation, and this is the the current financial needs and we're not meeting them. But at the same time, I'm optimistic. We'll get there. We will make it work. And you'll try this and you'll do your best at making it work. And I'm talking 10, 12, 14-hour days if you have to push it through in your new business venture. That's what I had to do for my Abundance of Water course. I was pushing 14-hour days for 3 months non-stop, including Saturdays and Sundays. You know, it sounds crazy, sounds like, well, that's not balanced. Well, you know, it was perfect. You know, Helen and I separated, I broke my leg, and I couldn't run around to gallivanting anywhere, so I put in the 1,000 hours in 3 months, and that's that, and it was awesome. If I didn't do that, then the course wouldn't be where it was, and I wouldn't have sold $8,000 worth of sales on my first run. So be realistic, but be optimistic at the same time, and look forward into the future, and look forward to your day. Wake up and, like, you know, yes, you know, and start with your meditation or midpoint. Go into a bit of a dance or yoga, you know, some form of movement, which just to get your blood or, you know, moving. Go for a walk. So don't start your day with a computer. I find every time I start my day straight away with a computer, and it sucks you in. You know, you open your computer, email, you answer this email, and before you know it, it's 12 o'clock, you haven't had breakfast, and now you've been radiated by this thing, and you haven't done any of your highest priorities. No. Know what works for you and stick to it. And another thing that's really working well is a checklist. So at the end of the day, and I'm a culprit, I'm not following my checklist every single day, but a checklist is a reminder of what works. So let's say I have laborers on Friday, and on Thursday in my checklist I said, do I have everything I need for the laborers to come in tomorrow? Otherwise tomorrow the laborers come in, and I'm like, I don't have paint, and I don't have brushes, and I don't have this. I have to run to the shop, and I've got, let's say, 5, 6, 7 guys standing there twirling thumbs. You know, so that's where checklist comes in really handy. So as soon as something works, to put it on autopilot, to continue making it work, you add it to your checklist, and then you just check it off. So I'm literally going to take my checklist right now, actually after this, into my bed, and I laminated, and I've got erasable pen, so you know, those little non-permanent markers, and I check it off, and things that I haven't got to. And trust me, checklists can save you hours and thousands of dollars worth of wasted time. So do a checklist, plan your day in terms of a clean list with priorities in terms of highest impact, highest income, and be realistic, but stay optimistic. All the best.